Hello, listeners. Welcome to season 2 of the Masters Decoded podcast. I am Manish Merchant, the chief decoder. I want to thank you for the overwhelming response to season 1. Your feedback and encouragement led me to bring you season 2 of the Masters Decoded. The season will tap into how technology, artificial intelligence, and other socio-economic factors have impacted my guests' careers or passions. Hello, listeners. I'm glad to share with you the third episode of our special series on Masters Decoded in partnership with Asian Digital Supermovers, which we conduct every Sunday at 6 p.m. IST or 8:30 a.m. EST on Clubhouse. Our guest on today's podcast is Apoorva Panidapu. She's a high school sophomore in San Jose, California. She wears many hats. She is a student, a teacher, an aspiring mathematician, an artist, a social entrepreneur, and a public speaker who loves helping kids around the world. Today's session is focused on how to ignite the genius in you. So, without much further ado, let me get on with it. Apurva, please meet Monica, who's joining in. She's one of the moderators and actually the owner of Asian Digital Supermovers.
Hi, Monica. It's so nice to meet you.
Absolutely, Apoorva, but I'm joining in this room pretty much unnoticed by anybody in the family because once they know I'm meeting and in conversation with a child prodigy, I'm going to get a lot of grief about my failures in my life. I'm under a lot of pressure because of you. I'm telling you that. But it's so wonderful. I cannot even tell you how excited I am about meeting you, hearing about you. We've been talking about the show since I think, a week plus. And I've been trying my best to pitch this show to everyone. So let's hope that we are going to enjoy the conversation. You're going to enjoy the conversation as much as we will because I know that I'm really excited. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think this will be a lot of fun.
And Monica, Apurva just joined Clubhouse, so we'll have to ensure that she keeps coming back, definitely in our club rooms, and be part of it as an ongoing basis.
Anytime. I'm more than happy to get Apoorva back at every single point. Like, I cannot even tell you how excited I am.
Apurva, since it's 6:30 your time and 6 o'clock in India, let's get started. You know, I wanted to take an opportunity of introducing you, but you are moving at a very fast pace. If I just look at in the last 2 weeks, congratulations on the Global Diana Award.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
amazing. And I know people around the world were recognized, including you. You want to share to everyone what got you that award and where were your focus on?
Absolutely. So the Diana Award is an award for service towards the world that's given to young people across the world, and I think it's the most prestigious award someone aged 9 to 25 can receive for their charity work and their work to help the world. And I received it for my art for charity and activism that came from starting my art gallery when I was 12 years old, and also for my tutoring to gather funds to support tribal and visually impaired children in India and underserved children in Africa.
Just wow. And art is one of the areas you focus on, and we'll talk about all your passion areas. And before we ask you more perspective, Monica, you want to quickly welcome the everybody who's joined in and quickly give everybody an introduction of what this room is all about?
Absolutely. So I will also introduce Asian Digital Supermovers to everyone. So thank you everyone for joining in. We are the Asian Digital Supermovers, a club dedicated to Asia and of course its growing digital economy. We bring to you OG experts in fintech, product management, DeFi, and future of money. And of course, Anis runs a series every Sunday which is called Masters Decoded, which is also his podcast. So he's a digital giant in the real sense of the word, and he's been blogging and podcasting for the last many years. So if you're not following him, please do that right now. So he brings in all these really exciting speakers who make Sunday so much more worthwhile for us. So before we begin, a few housekeeping rules and how we're going to run the session. First things, if you haven't followed Asian Digital Supermovers, then please do that by clicking on the greenhouse icon at the top of your page. You will be taken to the club page, and there you will see a follow button. Once you follow the club, you will be able to see all the activities, including the upcoming events that we have, as well as all the information associated with how you can find us. So we are available on all social channels like Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as we have a Telegram group. We are available at AD Supermovers, A for Asian, D for Digital Supermovers. Also, we are available if you have any PR inquiries, or if you wanted to talk to us, or if you wanted to volunteer for the group, you can reach out to us at adsupermovers@gmail.com. Now, I'm sure Anis will be opening up the house for questions. Once that is done, then you will be able to see the hand raise button at the bottom of your screen, which will right now it's available. So if you do raise your hands, we will get a notification, and once we get a notification, we'll pull you up. Once you're up on stage, please do ask your question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we will go down in the PTR order, which means that people who've come on the stage first will be given the chance to ask their questions. Hopefully, we'll give everybody a chance to ask their questions and be in conversation directly with Apoorva. Also, we will request you to ping your friends to the room by clicking on the plus icon at the bottom of your page. Once you do that, you'll be able to find all your friends who are currently online and who would like to join this exciting conversation. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over to Anis, who will then take this conversation forward.
Sure. Thanks, Monica. And let me start by quickly introducing Apoorva, who's the guest of honor for today. She's a high school sophomore student who's based out of San Jose, California. And just saying that San Jose, California, it is 6:30 early in the morning, and she's taken an effort to join in. I also know that Apoorva is an early riser, so this is not early for her. She wears multiple hats, like a student, teacher, an aspiring mathematician, an artist, a social entrepreneur, and a public speaker. Wow, and her bio is pretty long. If somebody has seen the famous Genius program, she actually was featured there, and which was hosted by Neil Patrick Harris in 2018, not recently, but in 2018, which was 3 years ago. And she's also won many global awards. We were talking about the Global Diana Award. And in 2020, she's also won the Global Child Prodigy Award for her work in mathematics. So I can keep going and introducing and spill the beans what Apoorva does, but I'll try to bring that about in my conversation with her. Apoorva, at such a young age, we all adults, I would use that word adults, don't have time or cannot juggle many priorities. If I speak for myself, there are so many distractions, there are so many things going around. And you are at that young age where even you have distractions, you have many things you want to do. How do you manage all of this?
Yeah, so that's probably the most difficult thing about the things I'm doing right now is just finding time to dedicate to each of them. And what I always try to do is I plan out my day. Like Google Calendar has become my best friend. But another thing that I really value is consistency. And I think consistency is the key to success in any area. Like it doesn't matter how talented you are at something. If you're not consistent, you won't be able to go the whole mile. So that's how I try and practice like art like almost every day if I can, and I carve out time for math and for communication because I think all these skills need time dedicated to them to really improve at them. So yeah, it's like a balancing act. You need to find what works best for you, but at the same time, you need to find time to relax, to focus on your mental health, to focus on spending time with your friends and family because that's something that's really important to me because that time is like what centers me and makes me able to work like more efficiently when I am working. So I think even though you should find time to dedicate to your like each of the skills you want to pursue, you should also find time just to like relax and like calm down your mind because that's equally as important.
Is it, as a parent, I will ask you a question, and because the theme of the topic is how to ignite the genius in you, do you feel that geniuses can only be ignited at a young age, or it can be done at any age as well?
Absolutely not a young age. I think anyone could ignite the genius within them at any age. Like, as you've seen some examples, you can see all sorts of successful people that emerge at like 40 years old, 50 years old, simply because at those times they had like the space and time to follow their dreams and to follow their skills. And so, like, I think the most important thing, no matter what age you are, is to try and find a mentor that can really take you the full way and to focus on not just your skill, but also your communication, because communication, like, means everything in today's world. I think a lot of people focus on IQ too much, whereas EQ is also just as important. Like, when I was growing up, my parents really instilled the importance of EQ within me, and that's really helped me in building professional relationships, and just being able to communicate with all sorts of people around me. So yeah, those things are not like exclusive to young people. It's like anyone can have a mentor, anyone can focus on their EQ, and anyone can be consistent in like developing a skill. So I think, yeah, genius can be ignited no matter what age you are, no matter what circumstance.
Before I ask you anything further, we have dear Sir Ashish Vidyarthi on the stage with us. Thank you, sir, for coming over to our club. Really glad to have you. And I'm sure you've read the background about this room. We have Apoorva, who's a child prodigy for 2020, and she also won recently the Global Diana Award, which was a prestigious global award. I would leave, or if you have to say any words to her or share some perspective on what she just said, would love to hear from you.
I have just walked in, so I didn't
Okay.
read about her a bit, but I just dropped in. I thought that was a very interesting one. Ignite the genius in you. I love the topic.
Thank you. We'll come back to you for sure. Uh, you mentioned about Apurva. You going back to you. You mentioned about finding a mentor, and somebody who can take you through the way and to the end goal. But when we talk about people, or when you talk about focus, there's a lot going on today. How do you, because you are juggling many areas, you do mathematics, focused on arts, you're teaching, you're also studying for your own college. And if I understand correctly, you started your college at the age, or your college studies at the age of 11. Most of us started at the age of 16 or 17. You are doing that. So what's your aim, and how do you align your goals with your mentors accordingly?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to have a support system in my parents that have helped me like find my mentors from a young age, like when I was 11 or 12, which is when I started college. And college is actually where I found most of my mentors. For example, I go to San Jose State University to take courses in math, and I've taken upper level courses and graduate courses there, and my professors there are now my mentors, because they're all like, if you reach out to a professor at a local college and you're genuinely interested in something, and it's something that they're also passionate about, chances are they will be willing to help you and give you resources. And the main interest that you have to align with your mentors is just how willing are you to learn new things in their like field of interest. How willing are you to like put in the work, to read books, to just like be consistent in trying to like go into this field seriously. And if both of you have agreed on a certain like willingness, like obviously there's other things on in your life, you can't be expected to devote your entire life to it, but if you're just willing to put in like an hour each day or every other day, then your mentor will be willing to work with that, and you can discuss interesting questions, talk about whether it's like math or history or philosophy. The only thing you need to have a mentor is just a shared common interest that both of you are passionate about. And the end goal for most of these things is just to learn something new, or to do something in the research, if that's what you're interested in, or just to pick up another skill that you can talk to other people about. But yeah, usually for my mentors, it's just a matter of learning the things I'm interested in, because I'm interested in a lot of interdisciplinary topics, like how does math bridge to history and art, and how do they like intertwine to create like this rich like mathematical world we have now. and what part did like history play in that? And that's something that I really focus on. Because I think it just tells an amazing story that can inspire so many people today.
You recently won an. Sorry, Ashish, sir, you were saying something? Or you wanted to.
No, I was just applauding Apoorva. Wonderful, Apoorva. Very successfully put. Wish you all the very best in your journey, Apoorva. And
Thank you so much.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Anis. I'll drop away right now. Actually,
Sure.
Thank you, Ashish.
more power to each one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Apurva, you recently won an award, and award list can continue going on and on. For if I pronounce it right, the Stephen H. Strogatz Prize for the math communication, and it was
Mm-hmm.
specifically where you double clicked on how the designs which were being done in the yesteryears, how mathematics is aligned to that design, and how could you find patterns? Do you want to share to everyone, uh, how did you come about that research and how and where you focus your efforts on?
Absolutely, yeah. So I won the Strogatz Prize for Math Communication this year for a column I've been writing called Gems in STEM, where basically I aim to share these beautiful pure math topics or STEM topics that you might otherwise not hear about because you're not in these fields, in an accessible and like lighthearted way, so that anyone can enjoy it. It's like I include things for people of all experience levels. And the reason I started it is because it's really hard to sort of bridge the barrier in some of these like really technical fields because a lot of the writing about it is very advanced slash like, it can be kind of hard because it's kind of boring the way they write it because they're just trying to get to the point as quickly as possible and explaining it is not always the focus. And so Stephen Strogatz, who's a brilliant mathematician, has made his focus like writing books to make math accessible to people. And so that's why I started this column to make math accessible. And so the reason a way of making it accessible is to appeal to people in all fields. So in my articles, I include the history of the topic. I include how it's been used in many different fields, whether that be like an application in biology, which is where, for example, like partitions play a big part in a theorem of biology, or if it's just like the beautiful art aspect of it, for example, fractals or tessellations. And another reason for doing something like this is one time a mentor told me the best way to learn is to teach. And at the time, I didn't understand what that meant. Like, that didn't make any sense. If you don't understand something, how are you going to teach it? But in writing this column, I've learned that that's absolutely true. Because in your efforts to teach someone something, you learn the topic yourself, like, whatever way possible. You're doing the research, you're putting in the work, and that's the motivation to, like, actually sit down and learn it. And when you're putting it in explainable terms for someone else, you yourself understand it a lot better. So yeah, that phrase is something that I've really held on to in the past couple of years.
Monica, you want to share some perspectives?
Absolutely. Apurva, you mentioned about consistency. I'm sorry, I'll have to really double click on this for the benefit of the audience who are obviously a lot older, but we are all having this issue. Help me understand, typically in a day with all the distractions around you, how do you, like, is there a digital or a physical way to remain so laser sharp focused on what you want to achieve? And I'm pretty sure that you must be doing this very well, but how do we really get there? And what are some of the tips that you would pass on to make this a little bit easier for us?
Yeah, so I think a really good thing to do is to make a space for yourself. Preferably like away from the main room of your house where there can be a lot of distractions. For example, like I wanted to be consistent in my art, so I made a space for myself in our garage where I can go there. There's no distractions because I can't hear anything from inside the house. And it's just a place for me to like focus and do my art without like having, like, you can also like tell the people around you if you want, like, please don't bother me for this time. I really want to like do this. But also I think you don't have to be super hard on yourself to be like laser focused, get the most done every day. Some days you can just go in and like do something for 10-15 minutes, because days are busy like day to day, and sometimes you have a lot on your plate, but 15 minutes does make the biggest difference. So if you can just like, you don't even have to do anything. Maybe you can listen to like a short podcast about a topic you're interested in, or just read a couple articles, and that's enough on some days. But you do have to definitely like get down to it on other days, but that doesn't have to be every day. Is the thing. Like it's all about like give and take and balance. But I do think making a space for yourself for different things. You can make a different space for writing. You can make a different space for art, but it just it gives you the comfort, and it gives you like an association for just sitting down and doing the work. And I think that's been really helpful for me.
And Apoorva, I do have a follow-up question. You're an Indian American, so obviously the identity and therefore who you are is pretty much determined by the kind of reactions you must be getting and the invisible pressure to do well. How do you really escape the pressure, relax yourself, and just continue to do well in terms of your own benchmarks, your own standards, and continue to still excel in almost everything that you're doing? What's the secret?
Yeah, so I definitely felt the pressure a lot when I was younger, but as I've grown older, I've realized that like I'm living my life for myself, right? I want to do what I like. I want to pursue the things that I want to pursue. And as you grow up, well, as I, like a lot of people here are older, but what I've realized in growing up is that you can only go so far in something you're not interested in, but you can't go to the depth that you want to go. You can't pursue it if you don't like it, because you have to be able to have passionate conversations with people who are in the same field. So I've let go of that pressure. I've decided that I'm going to do the best I can in pursuing this, and I'm going to do what I want to do with it, regardless of what other people think I should do with it. And so, in following what I want to do, I've realized like I want to do math communication, and that's how I started my column. I realized that I wanted to work on art for charity and for service, and not just doing it alone in my garage. Like I want to share it with the world. And so it's just following like what you like. For other people who are feeling some sort of pressure, I think you should just like realize that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. It just matters what you want to do, and like how far are you willing to go, and how much work are you willing to put in to accomplish that for yourself, not for other people. And if you realize you're only doing it for other people, I think maybe you should try and like reflect and reassess your priorities, because ultimately it should be something that you want to do.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Apoorva. You're so young, but you are so mature, much beyond your years. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's definitely going to give all of us run of money for our money in the years to come. Monica, should we quickly reset and probably try to get any audience who want to come up on the stage and have a small conversation with Apoorva if they feel like?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that. So, thank you everyone for joining us on a Sunday evening. We are the Asian Digital Super Movers, and today we are talking to a child prodigy and genius, Apoorva, who's joined us from San Jose. So, she's woken up very, very early, and she's been talking to us about how she maintains the laser sharp focus in order to really be as excellent as she is. She's winning award after award and giving a real run for everybody's money as far as maturity is concerned. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this conversation, and to obviously thankful and grateful to Anis to bring him to the show. If you have any questions, please do raise your hands by clicking on the hand raise icon at the bottom of your page, and do come up and ask your questions directly to Apoorva. In the meantime, even if you don't have a question and you wanted to just share how amazing she is, please go ahead and do that as well. Everybody is welcome. And there are a lot of party hats in the room, which means that you are new to Clubhouse. First of all, welcome. This is an open platform and a safe space, so you're not going to be judged based on anything. If you feel shy in coming up, it's really easy. All you need to do is click on the hand button at the bottom right of your screen. Once you do that, we will get a notification and then we can pull you up. Also, once you are up on the stage, then just unmute yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then you can ask your question. There is Anil who's trying to come up. Let's get him up. Hi, Anil.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Welcome to Clubhouse and welcome to Asian Digital Super Movers.
Thank you so much. Yeah, myself Anil, I'm from Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. I'm a businessman. From my childhood, I have a, I used to have a lot of doubts. Why some people are getting so many failures, irrespective of whatever they do, and why some people are having a lot of success. So some people are having health issues. If I'm a Hindu, somebody says you go to Balaji Mandir, you'll get the solution. Somebody says you go to Sai Baba temple, you'll get the solution. And coming to me, I'm a person who always try to satisfy my logical mind. If that is the case, the pujari who is serving in the temple must be having a wealthy life and healthy life and happy life. But when he is having so many issues, how he can do something to the people who are visiting the temple? Irrespective of the religion, I don't want to take religion. Irrespective of the religion, there are many people in all the religions who are facing a lot of struggles, health issues, financial issues, and all. So I was searching for a solution where we can have, you know, a remedy, solution kind of thing. Finally, I came to one conclusion where we have something called universe. Universe is there to give us whatever we want, but we don't know how to ask the universe.
Sorry, Anil, for cutting you, but do you have a question for Apoorva?
No. I want to say that if somebody is having any related to their success, financial freedom, health, wealth, whatever, they can connect me. I'll be conducting free sessions on that.
Sure, Anil. We don't normally let people talk about their business or do a shilling on this particular platform. Really request you to.
It's a free session, ma'am. I'm not expecting any.
No, Anil, I totally understand, but we are going to restrict this to conversations about the subject at hand. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll move over to Shiv now. Hi, Shiv.
Hey, hi, Monica. Hi, everyone. I just have this one small question, or I just want to ask opinion of all the panel members here. So let's take a company that's creating a product. So usually there are two types of products. One company is where they push the product, they use a lot of advertisement, and the success is not great. And there's one company where the market pulls the product out of the company. So how did you guys optimize? What is the one field where the field pulls out the genius in you rather than you pushing hard into the field? How did you optimize into that?
Apoorva, you want to share your own experience, how whether the field pulled you in or did you work hard to make a mark in that specific field?
So I think that, well, in terms of the example you used, I think it's a little more nuanced than that, in that even if you spend a lot of money on advertising or things like that, it's about knowing your audience, right? And if you don't know your audience and you don't know who wants that product, then you're not going to have much success. Whereas in the other example that you gave, I think that if something is one of a kind and if there's no match for it in the market, like there's no substitutes, then of course, like regardless of the advertisement you do, people are going to want it and people are going to like look for it. So that could be a reason for why you have these two like differing audience reactions. But in terms of the fields that I was drawn to, it was just my interest. It was just me being passionate about math since I was a kid and me loving art. And I think what a lot of people forget to focus on is breadth. One of the most important things you can bring to a company or just bring to the world is interdisciplinary skills and being able to reach across different fields and provide a fresh perspective. So I think both breadth and depth are really important in whatever thing you want to pursue in your life.
Perfect answer. So, if I have to summarize for you, Shiv, what Apoorva mentioned is passion and breadth and depth with interdisciplinary skills, which brings in different perspective to bring in the genius in whatever you do.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you guys can go ahead with Sunil.
Thanks, Shiv. Sunil? You want to share some perspectives or ask Apoorva?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Sunil, a digital marketing entrepreneur and writer based in Mumbai. So, yeah, my quick question was Apurva was talking about, say, cross functional skills. So, I think Steve Jobs also mentioned something uh, with respect to that. So I just wanted to know, as in, some uh, what uh, does she do daily, as in on a say cross-functional level, and it's mentioned that all geniuses have certain quirks. So if I'm not being too personal, can you share what you think may be perceived as certain quirks?
Yeah, of course. So for your first question, I think like cross-functional skills are they do need practice, but a lot of it comes naturally. Like for example, I didn't when I first started doing like deep dives into different aspects and different fields, I didn't expect and I didn't like go into it wanting these cross functional skills. But as you're like learning, your brain just automatically connects like seemingly disparate things, and you just see so many sorts of connections you wouldn't have seen before when you were just in one field. But a lot of it also comes from just like becoming knowledgeable in these aspects. And so, in terms of practicing it, I think one of the most fruitful ways to practice it is to like write about it or to really describe the cross you're seeing, or just to like go into this cross because or read about it, because there's not often a lot of research in some of these like intersections. So it's just a matter of being curious. As for your second question, I think a lot of the quirks that people see in geniuses are probably like just things that come from hyper focus and like being really curious to like almost a like superhuman level. um and I think maybe for me it's just that when I get into my zone of like working, it's really hard to like get me out of it, which is why I have my spaces for it. That way when I like leave my space, like I'm ready to like do whatever else. But as for other people, it's just a lot, it just comes from like having a lot of like focus and uh maybe other things. But yeah, for me it's just focusing a lot.
Thanks for that. So, do you skim or say do a deep dive into every subject? Like there's this Feynman technique where he says uh, dumb it down so that even a 5-year-old can understand it, and if you teach to other people, you understand it better yourself. So that's my last question. I'll be muting myself now. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to that thing that a mentor said to me, I mentioned earlier, which is the best way to learn is to teach. Because if you can explain it, if you can break down a really advanced subject that maybe only professionals talk about and explain it to like a little cousin, or as you said, a 5-year-old, that means you understand it at a core, and you can explain it to learners of all experience levels, and there's really no way to like better understand it than that. And so yeah, I think it's really important to be able to dip into lots of different fields, but in terms of like deep diving, I think you do need to focus on a certain like couple, because it's hard to deep dive into like 10 different fields. Like a lot of people just don't have the time for that. And so I think in terms of determining what to be like, where to find your depth and where to find your breadth, it's just a matter of what are you most passionate about and what are you most curious about. And breadth is just topics that you would like to learn a little bit about, and so you can just dedicate like 10 minutes of your day to like reading an article about it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. That's it.
Great question, Sunil. And thank you, Apoorva, for sharing your perspectives. Money, you want to go next?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello, moderators. I'm Maniraj. I'm from Hyderabad. And I have a small question is that I think the Apurva is in a track like Da Vinci, Da Vinci's work. Like he's a polymath. He can work on different things which he relates to: science, maths, music, arts, painting. Like, and I just got it out that how to get expertise in all different things while working simultaneously, because myself, in my initial times, because after schooling I got to know one of my talents like music, and means I produced some of the sounds and I wrote some lyrics, but I can't expertise in the each and everything. So totally I means I get means I give away those things and I went to the conventional engineering. I'm done my masters in DFM. I'm working for a design company. So how to get all the different art forms to make them to make ourselves expertise in that? That's my doubt.
Yeah, so I think that Da Vinci provides a pretty unrealistic standard because he is an absolute like genius of the top level. But the thing is, you don't have to be an expert in every art field. That's really difficult. I doubt I could do that. It's just a matter of, I think a lot of people forget how long the journey is between beginner, like amateur, to expert. It takes a lot of time and dedication, and so I think like if you're interested in it, and it sounds like you are, in your music and other forms of art, um, it doesn't have to be like a fast track to just being amazing at it. That will come naturally once you start like doing it every day. If you can carve out just a little bit of your day um, uh, to dedicate to like one of your other passions, and once you start doing that, or if you're already doing that, you'll just see naturally like over the next months or like years, like how much better you'll become at it. And if you want, another great way to like really encourage yourself is to just keep track of your progress. Like take a video of like each day you do it, or like mark different milestones. And I think that's always been really helpful for me.
And one doubt, which is the best way, or like choosing one-on-one development on individually developing one of the art, or combinedly developing each and every art at like a level, basically improving the from entry level to beginner to medium to expertise level, all at once or one by one, touching the each and different art.
So I think so based on the ones you're really interested in, it would be better to do it like simultaneously, but not necessarily. Like what I mean by that is maybe like on Mondays you would say, oh, I'm going to focus on like this specific one, and then on Tuesdays I'm going to focus on this specific one, and you can alternate depending on what works best for you, because it's kind of difficult to focus on one, like go beginner to expert, then focus on another beginner to expert. That can span like many years. And as I said, consistency is really key. So it'll help you in terms of time to just do them like at a similar time, but not like both of them every day, because that's a lot to ask. And then it'll become easy to like fall off the wagon because sometimes you're just tired and you don't have that kind of time. So just as much as you can, like during the week, if you can plan out which ones you want to focus on which day. And maybe on the weekends, if you have extra time and it's an activity you really like to do, you can spend more time on each of them or both of them on the weekends. But yeah, it really just depends on your personal interests and your personal time and what's important to you.
Thank you, Apurva. Thank you for answering that. It was the best answer which I got.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Great, Mani. Great question. Monica, should we just quickly reset the room and give
Absolutely.
Apurva a breather so that she can take a quick breather?
Absolutely. So, thank you everyone for joining in. We are the Asian Digital Super Movers, and we talk about all aspects of the Asian digital economy. And we also bring to you superlative conversations every Sunday in collaboration with Masters Decoded, which is a podcast and series which is run by Anis, who is here in the as the first person who's joined this room, and you can see him at the top left of your screen. So please do give him a follow. Also, we talk about not only sorry we talk talk about product management, fintech, DeFi, growth, VC, venture capital funding, as well as a lot of different aspects associated with the huge growth that we are seeing in Asia. We try to bridge the gap between Asia and the world, and we run rooms almost on every single week, almost 3 to 4 days a week. So the way to find information about us and what we do is to simply click on the greenhouse icon at the top of your page. Once you do that, you will be able to see a follow button. Please follow the club, and also look at the upcoming events. Once you are able to see that, you will see a carousel. If you keep scrolling from left to right, you will be able to see all the upcoming events. We have one coming up on Tuesday where we have a fintech influencer and the author of the book Cashless China, Richard Turin, coming in. He's an absolute gem, and he'll be speaking about China's cashless revolution and the launch of the central bank digital currency, popularly called the CBDC. He'll be in conversation with Mushir Ahmed. So you absolutely must bookmark that event and join in. And also a quick reminder to everybody who's new: if you are new to Clubhouse, the more people you follow and the kind of people you follow determines the quality of the experience that you have by seeing clubs and rooms associated with your type of interests on the hallway. So the request is to follow people in the room. These are people you'd like to see in others and other rooms as well. Also do give the moderators and of course Apoorva a follow, because we want to keep having her come back to Clubhouse more often and keep hearing her brilliant nuggets of wisdom. Also do give the people on stage a follow so that you are able to also help increase their followership and make them come back to Clubhouse more often. Last but not the least, we are also available on social platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Telegram, so that you never miss a room notification. We normally post a lot about our events, what is coming up, and of course a lot about our guests as well. So please do follow us on Twitter, AD Supermovers. A for Asian, D for Digital, Super Movers, same on LinkedIn, and we also have a Telegram group. All the information is available on our social handles. Now I'll hand back over to Anis.
Thanks. And thank you, Sandy. I know you have the party hat, but you've been patiently waiting. So, without much further ado, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I just dropped in a few minutes ago, so I may have missed all the intro. The topic, kind of piqued my curiosity and dropped in, and really enjoying the last, 20 minutes or so. Apoorva, you mentioned she's a child prodigy, and that piqued much more curiosity. So I was listening to some of the things she said. It's amazing. Not sure how old you are, but some of the wisdom you shared was really. I was very impressed. I'm in my 50s. I spent half the time in India and half the time in the US. I'm based in Tennessee. Um, the question I was going to ask was, obviously with the pandemic for these so many months, it's hard to keep up, right? There is so many things thrown at you, and obviously there is so much you can develop interest. That's the good part. But personally, the challenge I have is, how do you kind of keep up with all the things that are going on in the world, right? I believe you sit in San Jose, but at your age, probably, I'm not sure whether that's a priority, but looks like you have so much wisdom. So I was just curious, how do you kind of stay on top of things in different parts of the world, right? Because that's obviously, if you want to ignite your, genius, you need to know the trend. Well, something may be going on in US, but that may not be what's going on in Asia, for example, right? So things like that. So I was just curious what you have to say. Part B of my question is, obviously at such a young age, right? I have probably daughter in the same age as you. What's your kind of message for youngsters, right? How do you what do you say to them in terms of staying curious, keep that interest alive, passion alive? Thank you.
Thank you. Those are amazing questions. For your first question, I definitely think yes, there was a huge influx of news in the past couple of years, and so I do try and keep up with it because I think it's really important to stay informed on the world and the state of the world and know like where you can like go to help. And so I think like what has been a really big resource for me, aside from like news articles that do pop up, is social media. Like I know social media sometimes can get a bad reputation for being like shallow, but there's actually a lot of amazing accounts out there that are dedicated towards sharing the news in a very informative way, where they talk about the history and they talk about current conflicts, and they break it down for people of all knowledge levels. And so they also cover global events. So social media has been like invaluable in keeping up with the world and like knowing what I can do to help. And sometimes I do think that the news can be overwhelming. So it's not necessary to keep up with everything, especially with all the tragic news that has been coming in. It can be really it can really weigh on you, I think. And so if you need to take a break from the news, it doesn't like that's totally fine. You don't need to keep up with everything. But if you do want to, then you can find these accounts on social media that will tell you the things you need to know. Especially because there's like news articles from like about everything. So it can be like sort of a lot at times to figure out which ones are about like the world and which ones are like different like niches. And as for your second question, my biggest piece of it, well, I'm 16, and so my biggest piece of advice to kids who want to stay curious and pursue their passions is ultimately listen to yourself. Because there's a lot of noise in the world and there's a lot of expectations from people who don't know you and people that their opinions on your life shouldn't have a bearing on what you do, except if it's like a support system. But listening to yourself tells you the things that you actually like instead of like maybe the things you're supposed to like. And it tells you what you want to do with your life. And if you listen to yourself and you're not sure what you want to do, that tells you that you need to spend some time exploring. You need to spend some time in different fields and different classes and figuring out what really appeals to you as a person. And only then can you really know yourself and be able to like live a fulfilling life. And so while there's a lot of people around you that will tell you helpful things, I think ultimately, like listening to yourself will get you where you want to go, and it'll get you to a place you actually want to go, instead of a place that you think you should go. And whether those things align or whether those things are different, it won't matter if you just, if you listen to what your mind tells you and what your heart tells you. And I think like that's been the most important thing to me as I've been following my interests. But yeah.
No, thank you so much, Apoorva. You made my day. All the best to you.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy, for asking an amazing question. The next we have is Chinmay. She's not new, I would say, to Asian Digital Supermovers. She's in fact on the background helping the club and all of us to promote and help and focus on the digital marketing and social media marketing. So, Chinmay, welcome. You want to share some perspectives or ask your thoughts with Apoorva?
Yes, thank you so much, Anissa. Hi, Apoorva. This has definitely been a very interesting and inspiring conversation, especially considering that you're almost the same age as me and you have me absolutely awestruck. I'm not going to lie. So, the question I have for you is, at your age, do you think that you need a mentor or do you already have one? And continued with that, what role does a mentor play in your life at this stage? Thank you.
Hi, it's so great to meet you. Thank you. So yeah, I think that's a really great question. I do have a mentor, and I think if possible, if you're young or even at any age, having a mentor is always super helpful. In terms of the mentors I have, I think I have like a mentor for everything I'm interested in. I have like my art teacher, I have my professors that are mentors in math, and just like various things like history, because I think it's really important to have someone who's an expert in what you're trying to learn, like have really interesting conversations with you and treat you as if, you're just like a normal student that wants to learn. And so what mentors do is they guide you through things that could otherwise be like boring in a textbook, but they tell you like with all their like expansive knowledge, like different things and different ideas based on what you're interested in. And so for me, mentorship has been incredibly important in terms of bridging like the divide between some of my interests and like informing me in things that I'm really interested in and showing me like pathways that I otherwise wouldn't have known existed. Because while like online resources and textbooks are super helpful, like there's something that people and humans can bring, which is a personal touch to their subjects. They have personal taste and they know like little tidbits and facts that sometimes you can't find in all of these like resources that are pre-written for like global audiences, which is obviously like also helpful. But yeah, mentors, that personal touch is like invaluable in all the subjects that you're in. Just because it gives you like a unique eye into fields from people that are really inspired and really curious about them, and you just naturally feed off that curiosity and feed off that interest. And with mentors, you're able to really explore the things you want to explore. So that's why I always stress the importance of mentors.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Thank you so much for answering that, and all the best to you.
Thank you. All the best to you.
Thanks, Apoorva. Before we go to Era, we have Pritish, who is one of the co-founders of Asian Digital Supermovers. Pritish, thank you for joining in. I'll give the stage to you if you want to share some perspectives.
So thanks, Anish. Thanks for having Apoorva on. She is amazing. I've been listening. I just joined a bit late, but this is my first interaction, if I may. Thanks to ClubHouse. Thanks to you with Prodigy, and it's exciting to see what kind of questions people have to ask and understand, because I never thought that I'll get this opportunity. So it's great to have Apoorva. Thanks, and I'm learning a lot. And I actually mentioned, my wife asked me, so are you on Clubhouse? I said, hey, we have Apoorva, she's a child prodigy. I'm just listening and learning. She said, so what kind of questions everybody's asking her? And I told her that everybody's asking how does she process information, how does she get to things, and her way of thinking. So this is very enlightening. Thank you. Back to you, Anish.
Great, thank you. And one thing which Apoorva hasn't mentioned, which I would like to do a plug-in for you, Apoorva. I believe you've now done it twice, if I know you a little bit. The first time you did it in 2019 on the International Women's Day, you made a portrait of Michelle Obama, where you raised $1,000, which went to charity. And again in 2021, you did it for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And you just didn't do the portrait, but you did a lot of other pieces which went to the charity as well, the entire money. I believe this year you broke the record of the previous $1,000 of the charity which you made. Is that correct, Apoorva?
Yes, actually. So I've done it 3 years, and 2019 was Michelle Obama, and then 2020 was Katherine Johnson, where I was also able to raise $1,000. And then this year, yes, it was the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is someone I've always looked up to because of her work for gender equality and social justice. And so, yeah, this year we were able to raise $4,000 to go towards child advocates in Silicon Valley, which basically helps support foster children and court-appointed like volunteer advocacy to help them and like help children who suffer from abuse in homes. And so I'm really happy that we were able to raise so much money to support this organization.
Kudos to you, and I look forward to what you come up in 2022. And on that note, Era, thank you for being patient, and over to you.
Hi, Anis. This is Ira. Hello, Apoorva. Hi, everybody here. I have been listening to Apoorva for a while. It's really intriguing for me, this subject, when you say how to ignite the genius in you. Um, I believe, and I've been researching a lot on my own part about what ignites a genius, and I believe that there are different kinds of geniuses. There is one which is the IQ, the intelligence quotient. Then there is emotional quotient, and then there is the spiritual quotient. And I think I come from a belief that all human beings are geniuses.
Mhm.
I feel that Apoorva is a very interesting insight about when you said listen to yourself, right? I feel that a lot of people are told that how to listen to themselves, but they don't have the pathway to do that? Because I think it's a muscle that you're practicing, just like anything else, like how you practice math. I think you're also practicing intuition. And I just wanted to know, like, what's your perspective on how you're doing that? That's one question that I have. Secondly, I also wanted to understand, like, do you also believe, like, I think Chinmay asked you about having mentors. Uh, since I come from a background of thinking that everyone's a genius in their own small way or big way, you think having mentors is a kind of a privilege, because I don't think everyone has access to it. I never had access to mentors. I'm still like searching for one, and I have to guide myself. So I start working on my instinct through meditation and yoga, and I'm like deep into spirituality, and I believe that spirituality really sort of enhances that instinct, which sort of guides you to where you have to be, where you have to go, what's your purpose in life, and cutting off from the society and being with yourself more and more will help you sort of build that muscle. So I wanted to know if you think that's also something that, yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a great time.
Absolutely. I think you have a lot of really amazing points that I totally agree with. In terms of, I think that everyone is a genius in their own way. I always thank you for bringing that up. I totally agree with that. And it's all like different ways too. And I recognize that mentors are a privilege because you have to be in a popular field for it to be easy access to find mentors, like you said. And so sometimes when that's hard to do, instead of looking for a mentor, I think what you can look for is a friend. And what I mean when I say that is a friend that is also interested in what you're interested in and is also in their own journey of like learning about it or pursuing it or practicing it. And when you find a friend like that, it just naturally almost becomes like a mutual mentorship because you won't have the same knowledge or the same skill set. You both will have like different perspectives. You'll have a different way of thinking and a different way of sharing. And so if you can find a friend because mentors are sort of hard to find, it's almost like sort of like that. And it's a great way to like build a community in the field that you're interested in. And it'll be like an amazing support system, one, and an amazing way to learn because both of you will be like learning from different resources in different ways, which is equally as valuable, the learning process, than just having someone like as an expert to talk to you. But yeah, was there another question in there? I don't remember. Did I answer your question properly?
I asked you about how do you work your instincts. You said listen to your body,
Yeah.
listen to yourself. How do you do that? Is something I was interested in. What's your perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I totally agree with you when you said it's like a muscle. And I think a lot of things that people don't think of as muscles are like creativity is a muscle, like passion is a muscle. Also consistency is a muscle because you need to practice these things in order to like fully stick with them. And so in terms of listening to yourself, instead of like making if you're not like used to it, if you are trying to be more independent, I think that instead of making a huge life decision the second you start trying to do it, might be a little ill-advised. What you can start trying to do first is to just listen to yourself for like small decisions. Like it can be something as simple as like, what are you going to wear for the day? Is it something that you want to wear because you like really like it, or is it something that you think that like it's like more comfortable and will like let you go unseen? Or that's also okay, but it's just small things like that. Like, do you want to, or are you too scared to? And if you just start listening to yourself, like more and more, just about small decisions, like it'll just become a habit. It'll become a muscle, and you'll be a lot more in tune with yourself. And I think the way I started to do it is I really started to like take time for myself to reflect on the things I genuinely found myself enjoying as I was doing like day-to-day activities or just like in my classes. And it like turned out to not align with the direction my like life was going at the time. And so with listening to myself more and more, I was able to take more control of like the things I wanted to do. And of course, like a lot of that is due to my privilege of having an amazing family support system in my parents. And so I think it's just a matter of practicing listening to yourself and just being able to follow that as much as you can, if not like all the way, because I know sometimes that's not possible for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Apoorva, just being cautious of time, I'm still not hearing the fireworks, but I'm sure they will be definitely playing for you as soon as they come in. So, do we have you more for 30 minutes? Is that okay?
Sure, that's okay.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. We still are going on strong, and we have few people come on the stage. Priyanshi, thank you for patiently waiting. Over to you.
Thank you, Anish. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, Apoorva. So, I have a lot of questions, but I want to respect everyone's time and just basically cut it short to four. The first question: how do you generally approach learning? Do you generally approach learning as a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, or do you dive into the middle of the subject and go in all directions from there?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question. It depends on the field, I would say. For a lot of them, like for example, like pure math, it's you have to start from like the bottom. You have to learn the basics, you have to learn the tools, and only then can you really build up. But in other subjects, sort of like maybe history or literature, what you have to do to really like expand yourself in them is to find something that really interests you, whether it be just because of like other things you've done or just like you like this sort of thing. And so like if you're really interested in like period pieces, you can start by reading like books that are based in different time periods. Or if you're really interested in like modern day perspectives or like political novels, you can start there. So it really depends on the field you want to dive into. A lot of the STEM fields and technical fields, you do have to go bottom up just so that you have the necessary tools to really explore further at higher levels. But for the more humanities based ones, I would say just go where you're interested and then like start off there and just expand. And it should work out. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, how do you approach solving difficult problems or problems which you don't necessarily understand by yourself very well?
Okay, that's also a really great question. So I think for difficult problems, the best thing to do is to first try and break it down to yourself. Make mini steps that seem more manageable and seem more bite-sized, and then you can like go from there. But if you're even like unsure of how to do that, uh, I think that no one should be afraid to ask for help or to ask for some guidance. To just be honest about where you're at. And so for difficult problems, I think it's important to work on it yourself and grapple with it for a bit because that's a learning process in and of itself. And do as much as you can, but also don't be afraid to like ask for help or guidance from someone who's maybe like a colleague that knows more about it than you, or just like a friend, or you know, even sometimes like a mentor or your boss who can give some guidance. But yeah.
That's great. Also, how do you would you like to share some strategies you use to learn things and connect all those different disciplines and make it just interdisciplinary?
Of course, yeah. So I think something that's been really nice and really helpful is podcasts because some people they have to do other things while doing like you know while doing like menial tasks like for example like the dishes or cleaning. You can listen to a podcast and you can make it interesting. And podcasts are a really great way to learn because they're like having a conversation with someone. And another thing that I really enjoy is just like I keep saying the point over and over, so I'm hesitant to say it again. But just having conversations with people in the same field, like friends or mentors. But if you don't have access to that, definitely podcasts. Definitely follow accounts that are dedicated to the thing you're interested in if you're on social media, because then it'll just be like in your everyday feed, and you'll be able to just absorb a lot of the material. And get some books and actually like try and sit down and read them in like the space you made for yourself for this separate field. And like don't buy the books that you think you should buy the books you actually want to read and the things that you will actually like be willing to read. And it doesn't have to be like the super big book that like seems like it'll teach you a lot. It can just be like a small one that you think that it would be interesting to you. And so in terms of my strategies to learn, definitely podcasts. And when I have like free time or if I'm just like sitting in the car, I'll like read articles or I'll scroll through things. And so it's just like small ways that you can incorporate it into your life that will really make a difference.
Thank you. That's also great. I agree with that, and I agree that the more perspectives you have, either through podcasts, through conversations, through articles in the subject you're interested in, that really helps. And the last question is, how do you really think, and how do you, and the B part of the question is, how do you really ask better questions?
Absolutely. So yeah, like a lot of things, asking good questions is the muscle again. And I think at the start, it shouldn't be your primary focus to ask like great questions, because that's really difficult to do if you like don't know what entails like a good question, right? So I think what you should do in the beginning is just ask the questions you want to ask. If you're confused about something, ask about that. It doesn't have to be a brilliant question. And as you're getting these smaller questions answered, you're building a basis to like build off of and to like really like jump off of to explore different fields and different interdisciplinary things. And once you start asking like the necessary questions, you can start brainstorming like bigger questions you can ask, and you can follow a line of thinking. So I think a big part of asking good questions is just pulling a thread of a conversation or a previous question as far as you can go. And it's just like following a natural line of thinking, natural line of questioning. And the further you go, the more interesting the question becomes. And another part of it is just tying together different things you're interested in. Like you can ask, how is this related to this, if at all? And if you're talking to like a professional or a mentor or someone else who's just immersed in the subject, you'll get an interesting answer. That's what I found in asking questions.
Thank you. That would help me a lot.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. That's a really great question.
Thanks, Priyanshi. Those were some amazing questions. And frankly speaking, I know Apoorva has openly shared her age with all of us. I am like getting sunk into my chair with every response. I don't know if I should be saying anything more, but Apoorva, it's been fantastic to hear. And just for everyone, we have Apoorva's mother also joining in, and she's listening in. Hopefully, she can come on the stage and share some perspectives on how she's helping Apoorva along the way. But before we go ahead, I would love to give Apoorva a breather for sure. And Monica, should we just quickly reset the room and ensure that everybody knows what we're trying to do over here? Right, it looks like Monica is busy. Anyways, so just for everyone, this is the Asian Digital Supermovers Club. We have, a growing community with almost 8,000 people. We hold these different rooms around product, digital, DeFi, fintech, and try to get different people on the show. Not just this one, but across the different domains which the group and the club focuses on. We have Apoorva who's joining us today. She is one of the Child Prodigy Award winners for 2020 and recently the Global Diana Award for 2021. Definitely a multifaceted individual, and she's been sharing her perspectives, her wisdom to everybody who's been on the stage and quizzing her. Draz, I know you've been waiting patiently and you have a party hat on, so welcome to Clubhouse, and over to you.
Thank you, Anis. And I have to firstly congratulate Apoorva. And this is the first time I'm talking to her. And I have seen her videos on YouTube. She has been phenomenal in her performance. And that's very good. I have some basic questions like, do you think like normal kids or your brain works something like Einstein?
Hi, it's great to meet you. So I think that so it's hard to reflect on your own way of thinking, but I think that let me think. Okay, so I think there's different speeds of processing and different speeds of thinking. And that maybe I think from a young age I found that my speed of processing has been a little faster than my peers, which is why with my parents I've been able to explore like better options for myself. And like for example, I started college when I was 11, just because that was more in like my speed. And so normal kids is also a hard thing to define, because I think that everyone has has an ability to process like amazing things in their own respective fields or their own respective ways, like how we mentioned before that everyone is a genius in their own way. But in terms of like the traditional fields and the traditional STEM fields, like I think some kids are just like faster at processing and like problem solving in some of these fields, and you have to account for that when you're teaching. But yeah, that would I think be my perspective, and I think I accredit a lot of that to my parents for like really supporting it, because if you don't have support for when you are processing or like learning things faster, it's hard to practice because it is sort of like a muscle, like a lot of the things we've talked about. And when I was a kid, I started doing abacus classes. Abacus is an ancient computational device that allows you to like calculate things a lot faster. And so this was a great like way to boost my brain and my like processing speeds and just really have it as an exercise. And so in terms of the YouTube videos you may have seen, like the Genius Junior ones, abacus played a big part in that. So I credit a lot of my thinking and the way of thinking to that. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
So yeah, I want to ask you one general question, simple questions like, what do you eat and how many hours do you sleep, and what is your future plan? What do you want to be in 20 years from today?
Yeah, so I think like my day to day like habits and like health, it doesn't like it's like your average thing. I don't think I eat anything like really special that like boosts my IQ points. But I do think sleep is really important. I try and get at least like 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, which is recommended because it doesn't seem like it when you're living day to day, but it does play a large part in like how your brain operates, and getting less sleep impedes on that. But and what was your last question? I'm sorry, I forgot it in my line of thinking.
Yeah, so I just want to know, like, what are your interests in life? Like, after 20 years from today, where do you see yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. So I the thing is, I'm trying to stay open to like all sorts of fields and all sorts of pathways. So I'm not entirely sure what I want for myself in 20 years. I'm taking it like couple years by couple years. Like some of my future goals are to pursue a PhD in a field I'm passionate about. Right now, it looks like math, and to just like really stay curious and stay open. I do know that in my future, I want to be in a place where I'm doing work for charity. I'm trying to give back to people all over the world. And I'm still trying to incorporate all my different interests, for example, in the technical fields and in art and in writing. So while I'm not sure exactly what that will be in 20 years because the world is moving so fast and developments are moving so fast, I do know that I want to stay like true to myself and just pursue the things I love to like the highest level I can.
One last question, like, how much of influence does your environment, like what you have grown up, will really affect you in terms of intellectual ability?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a really great question. Environment plays a huge role in the things that you're doing. And I've been lucky and privileged enough to grow up in the Bay Area with really supportive parents where there's a lot of opportunities that are in easy access. And there's just a lot of people who are interested in different things. And I know not a lot of people have that sort of environment, depending on where you live. And so it can be a lot more difficult to do some of these things we've been saying in the places you are. And so what I would say to that is online community and online learning has become huge, and it's become almost as good as in-person learning. And if you can find an online community that's interested in the same things you are, that will be amazing in learning and just growing as a person and whatever things you're interested in. And you can find these communities on virtually every platform. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on like learning platforms. And so if your environment is not conducive to your interest and your curiosity, go online and try and find things like that. There's resources like everywhere. So yeah.
Thank you, Apoorva. All the best for your future.
All the best
Thank
to
you very
you.
much.
Thanks, Draz, for asking those great questions. And Apoorva, thank you for patiently answering every perspective which Draz pinged you on. Hitesh, thank you for coming over on the stage. The floor is yours. Hitesh, you still there? All right, I'll move on to Shueza. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Shueza.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, Purva. First of all, I really want to say this. I am awestruck by your brilliance. May God bless you. And secondly, I have two questions. I won't take a lot of your time. I wanted to ask, how do you stay focused when you're learning something?
Hi, thank you so much. It's great to meet you. So in terms of staying focused when I'm learning something, it's just like I said before, but maybe not everyone was around. I try and carve out a space in my home or wherever to just have as my like workspace or to have as like a space dedicated to one specific thing. For example, I have my art space in my garage because it really allows me to like hone in on what I want to do without like outside distractions. And another thing is to maybe like listen to things that help like focus you or center you. For example, when I want to focus, I listen to music or I listen to classical music. Just because it helps me like block out distractions and just really focus on what's in front of me. But yeah, there's gonna be distractions wherever you go. So I think one of the best things you can do is make a space for yourself or just figure out a way to make sure that like no one bothers you or you don't get drawn out of your like focus space because it really is like a focus space that you have to like go into and it sometimes takes practice to be able to stay but yeah, just find whatever works for you, whatever helps keeps the like noise and distractions away. And it should like once you like keep doing that, it should work out.
All right, thank you so much. And there's one more question. How do you distribute like different parts of your day? Because I know you're interested in a lot in like many things. So how do you organize that in a day?
Absolutely, yeah. So I try to have my day be well, I try and give my time to all the different things I'm interested in, but not every single day. Like, I choose some days for some things. For example, like, if I want to try doing, like, different types of art, I'll do one type of art on one day and the other on another day, just so I don't overwhelm myself. And I think it's really helpful to, like, exactly plan out your time. And, of course, like, when you're actually doing it, it might, like, vary and you might like bleed into like other things that you wanted to do at that same time. But just like blocking out which parts of your day are dedicated to which time, like the night before, is super helpful in keeping you on track. But my one warning in when you're doing that is to make sure to give yourself sufficient breaks, sufficient time to spend with like not working intensely and just with maybe friends or family to relax, because that is equally as important. And if you are just working all the like all the time every day each day, like eventually it will stop working blocking out your time because there's only so much you can do and there's only like there's a limit to how productive you can be and it'll really wear on you if you don't give time to yourself. So when planning out your day, you should plan different things that you want to focus on each day, and those can vary day to day. And also just time for yourself. That's like my big thing.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Shweza, thank you for asking some of the brilliant questions. And a quick shout out to Apoorva's parents. Both of them are patiently listening today, Venkat and Uma. Uh, Thank you for allowing Apoorva to be on the stage with us. It's really an honor to have her. So thanks, Venkat, for joining in as well on the stage now. You want to share some perspectives? Let me put you on the spot first before I get to Mansi.
Hello, Anis. Uh, yeah, nothing. I mean, yeah, everybody's asking the questions that they have. So, unless there is any specific question to me, I have nothing to share.
I do have a question for you
Sure.
before we come back to Apurva. Uh, you know, you know, all of us, say that our parents play a big role in how we groom ourselves. Like, and Apurva is multi-talented. She is passionate about many things. How, as a parent, you've been able to, honor that, breathe that, and enhance her own creativity in everything what she does?
One of the things that we consider is everybody is an individual. So what that means is they have their own space. Usually, parents tend to uh, you know,
tend to focus their opinions and their impressions on the kids. It's in our perspective, it's like we have to guide them, but we should not be forcing them on anything. So we have to, in a way, nurture to grow themselves as an individual than uh, focusing on our intentions on them. So that's what we did.
Great. Great. And Uma, you want to share some perspectives? The same question to you.
Thank you, Anis, for inviting Apurva and us to the stage. Yeah, I would like pretty much. I think Apurva shared everything. My basic thing would be like follow your child's lead, and then that's exactly what we did. Apurva, we saw her love for numbers from a very young age, and we, like she said, she started on abacus, and then from there on, we just followed her path, what she was interested about. We never forced anything on her. That's one of the key things I would say to everybody. Like you might like something that you did not do as a child, but your child may not be interested in that. But do not try to force things on them. Just follow their lead. They will exactly tell you what they're curious about, what they want to do more. They will show you indicators. So be like a friend with them, talk to them, and try to understand them and see where their interests are going towards. And then just provide resources along the way, and you will see the magic happen. So that's my humble request to all the parents. Like, do not force your child into anything that they're not interested. Just follow along, give them all the resources, provide them what they want to do, and maybe you should like take them out to museums or to any science related stuff. Like, just give them all the opportunities, and you'll see where they're leaning towards as they're as they're given all the various opportunities, and then just follow along. So that's exactly what we did with Apurva. Like, we could see that her math interest was only going far and far. So we went from abacus to college classes to then she went to research. Like, it just went far, like just helping her out where we can. And she took it far. We didn't do anything other than supporting her and finding the resources for her.
Thank you.
uh, yeah.
No, you want to share something, Uma, further?
No, thank you. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for coming on the stage, Venkat and Uma. And we also have Apurva's parents. So if anybody has any questions for them, if you want to come on the stage, you're more than welcome to do that. Hitesh, I'll just quickly check in if you've come back, you've been able to solve your mute, or you want to talk, or you want to share your perspective quickly with Apurva. I don't know if you're speaking on mute. If not, Ayush, thank you for joining us on the stage. You have any perspectives for Apurva or Apurva's parents? They both, all three of them are here.
Hey Anis, hi Monica. Thanks for hosting us. So hi Apurva. I just joined in and sorry, I have no idea like what the conversation is going about. So give me some time and I'll catch up.
Sure, Ayush. Just as a headline, Apoorva is a Child Prodigy Award winner for 2020. And she's been sharing her
Wow,
perspective about how to ignite the genius in you and how can anybody be a genius. So that's what Apoorva has been trying to do.
that's
But we'll
great
give you
and
time. Sure.
sure. Congratulations Apurva and congratulations Venkat and Uma as well. Like that's a great feat that you guys have achieved. So
Thanks, Ayush. Go ahead, Apoorva.
Oh no, yeah, I'm just saying thank you for his kind words.
Arvind, you've come on the stage. You have any perspectives or thoughts you want to share with Apoorva?
Yeah. Hi, Anish and Monica. Thanks for letting me on the stage. And I think my question to Apur was, I'm somewhat similar. I kind of have a lot of interests and I tend to explore a lot of things, right? Because rather than drilling down or focusing on one thing, I just find doing things in different disciplines are much more interesting. So I've also listened to what you've been saying till now, and I think they were all wonderful insights. I just wanted to know if you use any sort of method to track your progress, or you kind of have some metrics to understand how much you progress in every field. I think that's the only question I had.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what is really nice is to set goals, but not all of them have to be like huge, like really difficult to achieve goals. Some of them can just be small goals, like, oh, I want to finish this chapter, or I want to learn this topic by reading some articles or watching some YouTube videos about it. And so I like to set goals for a lot of the things I do, but not like I have like big long term goals, and then I have like short-term goals, like week-to-week goals or even day-to-day goals. And so I have this for most of my disciplines. For example, for art, I can say I want to explore this medium today, or I want to try and do like a series of short portraits, small portraits that explore this style or that explore like this aspect of art. And so, yeah, I totally get. I think your question is a really great question because with so many disciplines, it can sometimes be hard to track your progress just because as you're like going and going and going, it's hard to remember where you started. So tracking these goals and keeping track of where you started, whether it be through like a short video or like a short like sentence, you can keep a journal like that. I think it's really important and just showing you how far you've like progressed and how far you've grown so that you can be proud of that because it is something to be really proud of.
Sure. Thank you for that answer, Apurva. Another follow-up question to that would be: do you compare your skill sets with like people on the who are at the top of the field to like get an idea of where you want to go, or is it something that you only compare with your current self and then just want to improve? I just wanted to get an idea for that.
Yeah, so I think something that I've found that is better for myself is not to compare myself to other people, but on the same side of that is I think that it's really important to look at the experts in your field and to learn about their stories and learn about their journeys because just looking at how they've gone from like beginner to where they are now can teach you a lot about how you can improve your own learning experience. Like you can see like where they reached out to mentors or how they went from like A to B, and you can try and replicate it if that's something you're really interested in. So while I think comparing yourself to like peers or comparing yourself to other people can be sometimes detrimental to your own like self-esteem, like looking at the experts in your field, and just seeing like their own journeys and learning from their stories and how they got there is like invaluable. Like that's the best way to learn and to like map out your journey and where you want to be in terms of like fields and like your interests.
Yeah, thank you so much, Apurva, and congratulations, and wish you all the best in your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much.
For everyone, we've closed the hand raising because we had Apoorva for 90 minutes and it's almost on top of the hour. But Jeffrey, since you were the last person to come on the stage, we'll take your perspectives and then after that we'll be probably closing the room. So over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Anis. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's great to be here and love to hear, and I really enjoyed hearing Apurva. But my question is to the parents. Now I have a 6 months old kid. Obviously growing them up is obviously we as parents have big ambitions for them. But more importantly, I want to understand was the South Asian culture an important piece in bringing Apurva, or was it not? I just want to understand the perspective of some of these upbringings of children of different parts of the world. How did that play out?
That's a great question. I'm Apurva's mama. I can help answer that. Apurva was born in the like we moved to the United States in '99, and Apurva was born here. So growing up, we did not. We did as a culture like uh, we did show her how we grew up and we talked about it, and she learned all the Indian related culture, like she learned slokas and she also learned Indian music and everything. But in terms of her education, we did not like bring in any of her stuff how we learned growing up. Like as far as I can remember, I just went to school, studied, wrote the exams. But the way she grew up here is she followed her interests, and we provided her the resources that she wanted. So I would say the education that she got here and the way she pursued her education is not traditional. She went her own path. She carved her own path. We had to pull her out of school at one point because she was not learning anything at school, and we kind of brought her homeschool, and like where she had the flexibility to learn whatever she wanted to learn, and with no strings attached to it basically. So if she wanted to do history, she would go and learn history on her own or online, or she finished her high school level classes at a very young age, like 10 years or 11 years, and then we had to find what is the next resource for her so that she can pursue her love for math. And then we reached out to the local colleges where she was able to take classes, like she took graduate level classes, and then she started doing math research with professors, right? So we had to, like, year by year, semester by semester, we had to see like what's going on with her, what is her interest, and where is she going with, and what kind of help she needed. So it was a journey not only for her, for us also coming from India. Like, it was totally different for her, for us here, and we had to figure out things by talking to different people, like how they did it, how did they take care for their child, or how did they find out the resources or mentors that can support your child. So it was a deep learning for us as well, and I'm very happy that we were able to support her in whatever way we can. So I wouldn't bring like, I know where you're coming from, the Asian culture, like the push the kids get from parents, but we try not to do that with Apoorva because we wanted to have fun in her learning process and go the way she wants to go without like pushing any of the things that we couldn't do growing up as a child. I hope I
Thank you.
answered your.
Oh, yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just to add to that, as we are, as they are growing up, our main focus is on development of their personality. My both daughters, Anuhi and Apoorva, we have highest importance in terms of building their character and personality, simply because we believe that whatever kids learn are the skills, but those skills, if they don't add to the personality, character, and if, at the end, if they don't turn up as good citizens, all the education is meaningless. So learning some skills and not learning some skills, it didn't matter to us. Whatever they pursued, we helped them learn. Whatever their passion is, we encouraged it. But we never compromised on their personality development or character. As kids are growing up, we see different shades, and sometimes it's a part of growing up. We have to provide. We always provided importance on what is right, what is wrong, and they are smart enough to pick those things.
Thank you.
Have something to add. I think that I think it's really important to share our culture in terms of the community aspect, even though it didn't affect my education as much, because like learning about like my Telugu community and just having that support has been really amazing, because I find comfort in seeing like Indian people or Indian Americans in some of my classes and some of my activities, because a lot of the times I'm like the only one, or I'm the only Indian girl, and just having the ability to connect with other Indians can be really important in like strange foreign places. And so in terms of the culture aspect, I think it's really important to grow up and be proud of your culture, because I found that even though when I was younger, I didn't realize how important it was, but now I think that it is really important to just like remember where your roots are, and remember who played a big part in where you are today, and like how we got here. So I would also say that in terms of remembering like your culture.
Thank you.
Apurva, Uma, Venkat, this has been a fun conversation. And Venkat and Uma, thank you for joining us on the stage. I would love this conversation to continue, but it is July 4th in the US, and I'm sure you'll have planned your weekend better. So thank you for graciously coming and spending time. It's pretty early in the morning there, for waking up early and making things happen. From all of us, Pritish, Mushir, and Monica, who were there. They had to jump because they had another club room starting. We all would like to thank you personally for taking time out. It's been a fun conversation. I personally learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody would agree with me. So thank you for being there, and I would love to have you coming back on Clubhouse. For all of you, Apoorva again, who were just joined into the room. Apoorva is one of the award winners for 2020 as Child Prodigy Award. We have her parents, Venkat and Umar, also joining in. You can see their party hats. So I would recommend if you can follow them, that will motivate them to keep coming back on Clubhouse. But no, this is Asian Digital Supermovers, and we would be signing off from this room in the next 30 seconds until Apoorva has anything else to add on to what we have discussed.
No, thank you so much. This was so much fun. It was a really great opportunity, and I'm so glad to have had a chance to speak to so many people. I think, like, answering these questions, it puts into words a lot of the things that I've been doing in my life, and so it's been really helpful for me as well. So yeah, I'm really happy to have done this morning.
Thanks, Venkat.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Oma. All right, everyone, we'll be shutting the room in the next 10 seconds. So thank you and have a great day. Stay safe and be healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening in. And we close yet another episode of Masters Decoded. If you've enjoyed the episode, please, you can help us out by sharing it on social media. I would personally appreciate that. It's how we can reach more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more awesome guests I can get in touch and convince to participate in these conversations that are a joy to have for me, and I hope they are a joy for you to listen as well. You can also help a lot leaving reviews on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Reviews are surprisingly helpful in supporting the podcast to get to more listeners. If this episode has intrigued you, I would request you to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date and get notified to the future episodes. With that, I bid you and see you in the next episode.